All right. What's up, boys? It is the week 7 recap. I'm filling in for Dennis while he's on his honeymoon. Congrats to Dennis for getting married on Saturday. You get a new voice today. All right, let's get into the final standings projections. Tony moves up to number 1. We'll talk about this a bit more later, why that seems a bit silly. I'm at number 2. I think I'm only at number 2 because I don't have a kicker on my roster right now, and ESPN really values kickers. We got Mateo at number 3, the points scored leader. Finn at number 4. Phil at number 5. And Vinny at number 6. Also a little silly to have him there. Looks like Austin and Dennis are back to where they started on the season. That's a shame. All right, let's look at the standings now. We have every single former champion, Mark, Dennis, Austin, and Brian, with losing records right now. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but it feels good. Devin and Tony lead each division at 5-2. Something to note here is that my model only gives Tony a 60% chance to make the playoffs, which is lower than Josh, who is at 3-4. Over here, Mateo and I are given pretty good shots. Austin is on his last legs down here at 0.5%. He probably has to just about win out at this point. Let's scroll down here to the power rankings and trends. Mateo leads the power rankings by a fair margin, followed by Josh, Mark, Finn, Devin, and Phil. Mark and Josh are both at 3-4, so that's interesting to note. You can see they've got some pretty negative luck scores. I've got a pretty high luck score out of the top 7, and you can see that's mirrored by I've got a little bit of a fraud level score going. I kind of agree with that. I've been getting some luck with who I play against each week. If we look at FPI though, Josh takes the lead. That means he's been hot lately. He dropped 150 this week. I think he dropped like 130 last week. So he's been doing well, even if the wins have been coming in slow. I've got the longest winning streak in the league at 4. Austin, of course, not doing great right now. Fewest points scored in the league, longest losing streak. And if you look at this nice chart that nobody ever looks at, you can see Austin has been on a downward trend. He's 5 games under 500. He's looks like 3 back of anyone else in the league. I think this next lowest record is 3-4. Tony and I have moved up to the top. Oh, that reminds me to talk about the fraud level. Tony, Vinny, just shattering all fraud metrics. Tony is the lowest points for in the league is Tony Bent at 645, and he's 5-2 and the number 1 seed in the West. Come on, West. What are we doing? All right, let's talk matchups now. Start off with my matchup with Austin. Couple things to note here. I had some good performances out of my core running backs and receivers. Austin got a great performance out of Jahmyr Gibbs. That's the first big game of the season out of him. Big waiver wire pickup, Rashee Rice scores a touchdown. Diggs has a solid game. Big storylines, Jerome Ford gets injured early in the game and still puts up 16.4, but I'm going to lose him for a week or two apparently. It's a low-grade, high ankle sprain. The Detroit defense puts up -7 against the Ravens, and I still come out with the win. That was scary. I should have just left that spot blank apparently. I really didn't want to drop the Lions defense, and I had a lot of buys, so I didn't feel like I could drop anyone else. Hindsight, I absolutely could have dropped Keontae Ingram to pick up a better defense, but how are we supposed to know that? Austin did have the win on the bench with A.J. Dillon. If he had started him instead of Craig Reynolds, I think he probably should have. I don't know why he decided to start both Detroit Lions running backs. It was a decision he made, though. Nobody influenced him with that. He did it. He lost because of it. We move on. I move up to 5-2. Austin goes down to 1-6. All right. Second matchup, one I'm excited to talk about, is Vinny versus Tony. I'm going to call this matchup the Fraud Bowl. These guys, 2 lowest point scorers in the league, both with winning records. Tony first in the West, and they did not disappoint with a whopper of a game, 87-74. Tony's quarterback puts up negative points. He still comes out with a 13-point win. Jonathan Taylor and Gus Edwards both had great games for him out of the running back position. Godert had a great game that kind of sealed the win on Sunday night. Over here on Vinny's side, nothing really notable. He kind of is just a mediocre team through and through. I've been going back and forth, so doing some soul searching on who I think the bigger fraud is after this. Tony obviously has the better record and fewer points scored, which makes him a big fraud. But then Vinny, I look at Vinny's team. This man had no one on bye in maybe the biggest bye week of the season, and he still only put up 74. Like, yeah, you're missing Justin Fields, but come on, man. That's not right. So I'm gonna say biggest fraud in the league right now is Vinny. All right, moving on to Mateo against Mark. Mateo takes the win by 9, so kind of close game. Moves up to 4-3. Mark falls to 3-4. That's his third straight loss. Mateo gets a big spot start from JSN, who really has not had any good games this year up to this point. DK gets ruled out an hour before the game, and Mateo is able to pivot quickly to JSN, and he comes through with a touchdown. That's a big start. If he starts Jaleel, I think he loses. If he had started Moss or Jalen Warren, he still would have won, but that could have been scary quickly. That was a great start by Mateo. Tyreek does Tyreek things. Mark gets Dustin Hopkins to put up the highest kicker score in league history at 24.0. I think the previous highest was 23. The new kicker scoring rules coming through, setting a record for Mark this week. I didn't see this before, but both of Mark's defenses on the bench got negative. And I play him next week, so I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see what happens there. Biggest storyline out of this game, though, I think, is the Bijan Robinson headache gate. Not on the injury report, not ruled out prior to the game, not even designated as a healthy scratch. He's just healthy, and yet he plays one snap, gets one carry for 3 yards, and that was late in the game. For most of the game, he had 0.0. I mean, there's nothing Mark could have done about that. You know, if he plays the full game, he at least has a 50% chance to win. I would probably give him closer to 75 or 80. So that is a huge thing that happened. Arthur Smith, football terrorist, strikes again. Mark got by the Falcons. You feel for him, even though, you know, maybe he deserves it for some of the things he's done over the past couple years. Puka, another great game from him. He's basically, him and Cooper Kupp are both basically 1A, 1B at this point. They're getting the same number of targets. They're getting the same number of first look reads. So he's going to continue to thrive here. Moving on to Josh and Brian. Josh puts up the 150 burger. He nukes Brian here. His QB only gets 12, and he still puts up 150. Jordan Addison on Monday night puts up 27 in his first game without Justin Jefferson. That's if Josh is hoping, that's a sign of things to come. Josh also has Josh Downs on his bench, who puts up a great game. Pickens puts up a great game, and even then, that would have lowered his point total. Great week from Josh. Brian, another middling week. It's his third straight week scoring 90 or lower, and his fourth in 5 weeks. So he needs to figure something out. He needs to figure out how to get points on the board. He drops to 3-4. Josh gets up to 3-4. All right, Greg versus Dennis. Greg moves up to 3-4 with the win. Dennis falls to 3-4 on the weekend of his wedding. That kind of hurts. Darren Waller had a good game for Dennis. That might be his first good one of the year. The Giants actually overall just kind of carried Dennis here. Nobody else really did anything notable. Calvin Ridley, 1 for 5. Come on, man. And on the Greg side, this win is on the back of his Chiefs boys. They finally had a Chiefs game against the Chargers. Kelsey putting up 30, Mahomes putting up almost 40. You know, nobody else really did anything. Najee finally had a touchdown, I guess, but really that's the story of this game. So Greg's first 2 draft picks finally pay off. And now we got Phil against Finn. Phil wins it. I am so excited to talk about this game because there was some tomfoolery that happened here. if you look at Finn's team, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 goose eggs, including the empty defense special teams spot. Phil also has a goose egg. So there's 5 goose eggs between these two teams. But Lamar and CMC and Mike Evans almost bring Finn back in despite basically losing half his team. But Finn pulls it out. Sutton with a good game. Kendrick Bourne's spot start at the good game. TJ Hawkinson, good game. Jalen Hurts, of course, good game. So let's talk about what happened with Finn here. So Jamal Williams in his IR slot gets activated this week, but he plays on Thursday. So he gets locked Thursday night before Finn is able to see that Jamal Williams is active again. So he gets locked in the IR slot. And when you have an IR player that is not on IR anymore, you cannot make any pickups or drops from the waiver wire. And so Finn was unable to pick up a defense. He was unable to pick up anyone to play instead of McCaffrey, but McCaffrey played luckily. DK Metcalf gets ruled out an hour before the game. Finn doesn't see it because he's hungover from Dennis's wedding. Cole Kmet, 0. Bears win 30-12. He gets 0 targets, completely healthy. And Riley Patterson gets 0 in the absolute drubbing that the Ravens put on the Lions. That is, I don't think I've ever seen anyone get 4 goose eggs. So congrats to Finn for that, I guess. But I think he's still in a good spot overall. He's still 4-3, second in the West, only behind the fraud Tony. I think he's got a good path to the playoffs here and maybe even a bye. All right, and looking ahead to next week, we got Mark against Devin. Mark's been talking this matchup up all week. Looks like I have the advantage in a couple of the core positions, 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and the flex, but Mark's got me at quarterback, tight end, and kicker. Of course, he's got me a kicker. I don't have a kicker, so we'll see what happens once I pick up a kicker. Right now, Mark's projected to win by 4, but that's me without a kicker. So I'll probably go up to like 110, 111. Even so, I kind of got to give the edge to Mark. I feel like my luck's got to run out at some point here, and Mark's been on a little cold streak. I think he puts up a big game against me. He's a 7-5 against me overall. I think he moves up to 8-5 after this week. Tony against Mateo. I mean, look at this. This guy, first in the West, you got 2 positional advantages. These look like 2 full lineups for both these teams. Mateo is projected to win by almost 13 points. I give the edge to Mateo here. I think he runs away with it. I don't think Tony breaks 60 this week. I'm predicting that. That's my hard call. All right, Brian against Austin, projected 109-109. Austin 1-6, desperately needs a win, and his team looks like it might be coming together. I mean, he's got Tony Pollard on the bench still. ESPN is projecting this man who's 1-6. They're projecting him 117. That's crazy if you ask me. Brian, I don't know, solid team. Brian's been struggling. I'm picking Austin this week. I'm going with the underdog. Josh against Greg. Josh projected 114. Greg projected 108. Most of the advantage goes to Josh, but of course, the Chiefs go to Greg. Even still, I'm giving the edge to Josh. I think Josh has one of the best teams in the league, and I don't think Greg has a very good team. Dennis against Phil. Pretty close in projections, but let's see. Anything going on down here? Not really. Donta Foreman in the lineup for Dennis. Let's see if he can replicate that against the Chargers, another bad defense. This is tough. I think I'm going to give the edge to Dennis because I feel like he's been unlucky the last couple weeks, and I think he bounces back in a big way. Devontae Adams has been complaining a little bit. I think he gets fed this week by Hoyer the Destroyer. And finally, Finn against Vinny. Finn doesn't have a defense still, and he's still projected 112. Vinny with the full lineup is projected 100. He still somehow doesn't have anyone on bye. I don't understand how this man's team was constructed, but Finn wins this easy. Vinny is a fraud. He's gonna put up 80 like he always does, and Finn's probably gonna put up like 120, and that's gonna be a wrap. All right, well, thanks for tuning in to my first weekly recap. I hope you all liked it. I'll talk to you next week if Dennis is still on his honeymoon. If not, I'll bounce it back over to him.